Hello
Good
again.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Muse. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Muse, this year we are doing the urban planning as per we were doing the last year, but this year is not an imaginary city. Okay, it's in the center of Bangkok. Okay, so it's a very dense and condensated urban grid system. No, it's similar to the thing of the Bund, no, the thing of China that you guys were working. Okay, because the city is already done. Okay, but they are going to improve the existing city. And the next Thursday they will have the first review. Okay, so they are working to know more or less the concept, the areas that are the opportunities to work.
Yes.
And they are in the initial stage. And after that, we will start to work to develop the ideas and implement it. Okay, so I invite you today to see the work that you did for the final. Okay, so yeah, you can start to share your work.
Okay.
And explain, and they will ask you. Okay, Muse, let's go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Hello everyone, and I will presenting my urban project. And our topic is like the imagined cities after COVID-19. And in that time, especially it's like the agents led us to finding the different set around the world or in your hometowns. And after that, we votings. And finally, our group's choosing my selections in Shanghai, the Bund areas. It is like in the downtowns of the Shanghais. And the first one is one of the perspective after I finished everything. And here is this part is like the Bund areas, most beautiful the skylines located in here, and this is the Huangpu rivers. Yeah. And here's one of the master plans, and to see how it's final lookings of the urban planning. Yeah, and first things is the set analyze and basic informations. And here's the Shanghai is located in the eastern, the ocean coast of China, and it's pretty big, and a lot of the peoples in there. The population density is like 6,000 people per square kilometers. Yes, and the history of Shanghai, and this city has appeared pretty long time ago, like around 6,000 years ago. It's pretty long times ago. And after that, it has become very small, like the village for the fishings and to connecting with the other countries. And it is usually be a very small village. And after the Qing dynasty, and the countries started to making this place as it's like a open port for the different countries, the ships to come to here. So the cities become the bigger and bigger, and and this is how it's looking like. There's a lot of the different cultures to mixing together because of the different ships to come to here, and a lot of the different nations peoples to working and doing the business in here. So it's quite interesting place because a lot of the different cultures, and this is how it's looking like the Bund areas. It's like I think 1970s or 60s or something. And this is the Nanjing Road. This is most famous road. It's like a walking straight located in that Bund areas. And the situations now, these Bund areas and also the Shanghai has become the economic, the financial, the trade, the shipping centers of China, and it has become I think the biggest port cities in the China, and also the most populations like tourist. The destinations in China, and also for the foreigners, a lot of people to come to here. And this is how what the Bund areas looking like now. This is a Bund, like the previous images to show, and this is Lujiazui, and this is like a financial island, and the government to planning this part become a skyline of the Shanghai's, and also become like high technologies and the financial island in this part. So it is pretty great views and beautiful views, and our site were located opposite of the rivers at this part. Okay, and also here's like a requirements, the population densities. I remember this, the densities of this set is much more than the requirements. Yeah, but the requirement is how much of that I didn't remember it. And this is the set shape and selections and how it's looking like. So basically this part at the right side is like very high technologies and the new like new layouts, new regulations, everything is new in this part. And this at the opposite side is quite like historicals and a lot of the old buildings, old residentials in this part. So yeah, it is the different feelings. Okay, and this is the size and data, basic data of this set is like 2.2 square kilometers and 6.9 kilometers parameters. Yeah, and after that, I started to analyze about the traffic, and we can see there's a main road. It's like let's say it's just a main road to moving at this it's just a main road and there are a lot of cars staying there. Yeah, and also there's one road next to the rivers, and this main rivers has a lot of the cars and the people are working to go through in that part. Yeah, because it's very great views in there. And also there's a few of the road to crossing this set, and also there's some of the cars in there. And yeah, this is how that road looking like. Here's that main road. It's like a highway, so we'll say. Yeah, and also this road along the rivers is also quite a lot of cars, and there's like 3 or 4 main roads crossing this set. Yeah, and this one. And here's some of the small, like a small path or small street, and connecting with the very old residential areas. And all this street is having some of the problems because, yeah, this street is too narrow, and yeah, it's causing a lot of the problems. And we're gonna to see how to solving it later. Yeah, the water analyze. There's 2 rivers along this set, and this one is the Huangpu rivers. It's like the mother rivers for the Shanghai, and this is also a part of the Long rivers, the biggest rivers, longest rivers in China. And this is Wusong River, and this is quite a small river, but this one is along that areas, and we call it the Jiangnan, and that is like 4 or 5 privates to combine together and that part, and this river is just crossing all that privates. So it is also bring some very interesting the cultures, the characteristic of this set, because yeah, this is coming from the different privates with the same the cultures feeling. And this is how it's looking like. This is Wusong River, this is Huangpu River, and Huangpu River is to divide it the set to be the left and the right, and the left we call the Puxi, is the western of this this river, and a right side we call it Pudong. So yeah, it's another side is the high technologies. Yeah, and after that, I started analyzing about the gray land, and here's has 4 biggest park. It's called the People's Park, People's Squares, Yu Gardens, and Huangpu Gardens. And this 4 gardens is quite important. It's like they having some of the monuments, the characters that, at the back. So yeah, and the Huangpu Gardens is like the first public gardens. Yeah, it's before it's like a private gardens, then it's first the gardens that opens to the publics in China. And also the Yu Gardens is built in the Ming dynasty. I think I remember that. Yeah, it's pretty long times ago, like 200 or 300 years. The histories, and also the People's Squares and the People's Park. It's like after the new China's been built. Yeah, but the problems is around this set, they have a lot of the green land, but inside of the set is lack of the green space. And in the normal times, maybe it's fine, but during that, the pandemic, especially it's during the 2020s, most of people cannot go into outside, cannot go into really far ways to having the travels. So I think during that time, the green land is become the very important things for the humans, the mental healthy. Yeah, and this is how it's looking like this for park. Yeah, and it's also different feeling. This is the old style, the history feelings, and also there's some of them is it's very modern feelings park. And here's the building conditions, and I think that I mentioned before. This conditions is pretty similar to Bangkok. The density is really high, and yeah, this is not really easy to do in the urban plannings during this phase, because you need to find in some very special things, and yeah, to find out what the problems is and trying to solve it. And come to the issues. And first, the issues is in the Bund areas. During this areas, a lot of the tourists in here, and also they creating like a river view platforms in here. But yeah, there's really a lot of people in there, so it's caused some problems, because during the pandemic, after the pandemic, and every place is asking for the the distance, the health distance. So that is causing some of the problems. Yeah, and also this part along these rivers, there's also having some historical buildings, so we cannot do any modifications for these buildings. Yeah, and also in this part, the cars and the people's flows will mix together. So I think that is also one part of the problems, because that is not safe. During like the festivals, and the police, the traffic police will shut down this road for the cars. Yes, it is become a walking street. So yeah, so sometimes it needs to transforms only for the cars or only for the peoples in sometimes. Yeah, and also this is another thing, and we can see this street in the middle is called the Nanjing Road, and a lot of people's walking to there. Yeah, because that is one the main road when the peoples want to go into the Bund area. So here's also a lot of the peoples, and this orange areas, this big one is the subway stations, the underground stations, and also this is another underground stations. So it is like the underground stations is transport the peoples from here and along these rivers and go into the Bund areas. So this is making the strait is also having a lot of people in there. It doesn't fit the distance requirement between the peoples and peoples. So yeah, this is another problem for the how the tourists will come to here. Yeah, and after that, the also having some of the transportations, the issues like this is the secondary road, I think, in that areas. The problems is there are some of the cars parking at the side of the road, and it's blocking the bicycle lanes for the peoples, and also this the walking path is too narrow, it's not wide enough for people to keeping the distance. Yeah, so that is also the problems. And in this cases, I remember all of our group is we are mentioned about the bicycle lanes, because that is in our view is quite important, the bicycles during that time. Yeah, if you go into some place, you can walk and you can walk to there, and you just walk to there. Maybe it's not safety because you were touching the others pedestrian. So yeah, and also if you buy the cars, and that place maybe it's not far away, and like you need using the cars to go to there. So the bicycle has become the very important tools, I think, during this days, and also this is good for the environment also. So yeah, and I mentioned before, there's this didn't having much green space, and even there's some of them inside, but in this case we requirement some good quality space for the residents, because everybody like quarantines at home, they only having few times to going out during that time. So yeah, the quality is the green space is very important for people's. And this is the residential, the design issues I mentioned before. This is like the old, like a historical the areas of the Shanghai. So there's a lot of like the old buildings inside, and the design is not good enough. And like in the middles of these buildings, the people's building some buildings inside, and this is it's not fit the rules and not fit for the law. So we can remove it in the middles, the buildings. Yeah, but this has caused a lot of problems, like sun issues that didn't have much sunlight, to in the middles the buildings, and also those didn't having the good ventilations, and also they didn't having the space for parkings. A lot of issues in there, and the population's density is quite high. Yeah, and it also didn't having enough the supporting facilities in there. Yeah, so and this is all the old residential areas I marked by the orange colors. And for this colors, this cyan colors, is the 3 hospitals in the cities, and this is also caused some problems. During the pandemic, they didn't have enough space for all the patients, so they needed finding the other space to build in like the temporary the hospitals for them. So that temporary hospital is quite far away from our set. So that is causing some of the problems because the patients need to travel the very long distance. So we need to find out how to give him more like the temporary the space, and that space could be transformed to the space for the hospitals. And this is the original, the fresh market locations. And there's only like 7 fresh market in this place, and it's causing the problems because all the people's going to this seven place. So the people's inside is very high densities, and it is increase the dangerous for the peoples. So yeah, this is another problems we need to solve. We need more of the fresh market to helping peoples to to reduce the densities and keeping the distance. And here's the proposal, and this is the master plans, and we can see I actually creating a skywalk, yeah, along all this street, and I will explaining it. And here's like the 3 of the main streets during in this set. And along this set, they were having the working street and also a lot of the commercial buildings, and 2 of the another streets to connecting with this Nanjing Road. Yeah, and this is how it's looking like. At the front part, and in this part is for the cars and for the peoples and for the bicycles, and in this dash line parts and all this along to, I think it's along to here, is the walking street. It's just for the peoples and the bicycles. So for this case, I tries to maybe we can just renew all this road to become the walking street, because a lot of people's working in there, so we can separate them to the 2 layers. And when people wanted to just directly go into the Bund areas, they didn't want to visit all the commercial buildings along the street, so they can just going up to the skywalk and directly went to the Bund areas. So it is reduced the dangerous for the people to contact the other things. So that is going to be safe. And also is for this building is always connecting with the Bund area. So I decided to, making all of that working straight to become the 2 layers, the ground floors and the skywalk. And this is the original, the straight views. I creating the perspectives. And also this is the original, the set sections. It's just the working straight. And here's how I'm, still creating this. It's like I'm blocking the cars to get inside, so it is become the working straight. So we can creating this whole road become it's like for the walkings. Yes, and after that, the sidewalk will be, at the edges will be the sidewalk, and after that is bicycle lanes, and in the middle it will be the green space. Yeah, it's like the 3 layers of the people's to use in this space. And after that, lifting this ground floors up to the skies and connecting with the different connecting with the road behind it. And after that, I creating some of the platforms. This platform is like to going to touching to nearby the strait. It is like for me, it's like to attracting peoples. It's like to say come to this place and attracting peoples, and also this platform is for peoples to to rest in theirs, because that is quite long walking distance, so people could having fun in this place, and also it will include in the green space and also the vertical transportations, elevators and the staircase will be in this part. And yeah, after that I mentioned, and open some halls. I tries to let in the sunlight going through and touch on the ground floors, and also we're having some green space. And here's how it's looking like. And this is one of the perspectives that render it. And also for the proposals, also we no, I'm doing something in here. It's like increase the making this paradise, making this working the sidewalks wider, and also giving bicycle lanes and not allowing the cars to parking along this areas, and also the planting more trees, so it is creating the better space for the peoples, and also because this sidewalk is wider, so people is didn't having that it's dangerous to to the very short distance with the peoples, with the other guys. Yeah, and also the cars will having more better the better experience when they are driving. And this is the sections after this renovations, and we can see how it's looking like the sky workings, and also they were having the trees on it. And another thing is about the ZHONGSHAN road, and this road is just next to the Bund, and that is problems because the cars and the bike and the people are mixed together. So what I'm thinking about it is first the thinking is like make it like a tunnels to going down to the strait, so we can separate the cars and peoples. But there's actually already having a tunnels under it, so it's not possible. So I'm trying to maybe just making a highways in there for the cars. Yeah, and this is another one. This is like a main platforms, like a view platforms for the people. It's observation deck, so people could come to here and watching the beautiful views in there. So this part is like the final destinies of this sky working. Yeah, and also I opening a hole so people could look in the under the rivers. And here's the sections, the original sections, and this is after the renovations, and we can see the highways for the cars, and also the sky workings for the peoples. And under it is just it's directly, so all of them is for the workings and the bicycles. So basically, all these things, the idea is trying to separate in them to layers. So giving all of the elements on the road, they were having the space. Like the bicycles, they were having the space. For the workings, they're also having the space, and also for the cars, they having the special workings. So it's like making them to be isolated, so people as well not having that chance to get the COVID-19. That's what I'm thinking, and this is how it's looking like, all the perspectives. Yeah, and come to the residential areas. And this part, a lot of the residentials in these areas, and all of them is looking like this. It's quite old and not very high. It's just 3 storage, I think 2 or 3 storage. And I think first the storage outside, and they usually use it as a shop. And after that, the second story, they use it as a residentials. And for the rooftop, they didn't have much. They didn't using that very well. Basically, it's just for the storage, and after that, it's no function at all. So after I'm thinking about it, it's like because in the middle, all these buildings didn't fit in the law, so we can removing it out. And also because this building is actually just 2 stories, so we can make it higher to the maybe 4 to 5 stories. So the people could, it will fit in the people who are living in the middle before. Yeah, so after that, what I'm removing that building, so all these small areas could be in the green space and could be in that the active the areas for the hospitals. The people could using this space after it's transferred. And also the ventilations and the sunlight will be better because they will having some space in the middles. Yeah, and also creating the roof gardens, and after that is we can add in the more facilities inside, like the balconies and the other things. And after that, I'm starting to thinking in the middles of that place, it should be having some special things, like it could be transferred from the even the fresh market, the gardens, and to the hospitals. So in this case, I'm doing something called a flexible block, and it is divided to 5 of them. The first is a basic block, and second is a market block, and people could selling the fresh food in here, and they're selling some small things in here. And after that will be the crop block, and that is a very interesting thing. It's like if really in the pandemic, maybe the cities is like shut down and didn't have any connections with the outside. So maybe you need some food supplies from the inside of your cities. So this is one of that imaginations from me. It's like they were having some crop blocks and people could to plant their own food in this place. And after that is style block. And after that is we're having the green block. And I mentioned before the green things in this time is very important for the people's mentals. So this is another thing how how I'm how to keeping the social distance by using this small block. Yeah, it is like you can lay out the shop and the crop and shop and the crop. So it is having the distance between the different shop, and also you can making some dot to standing point to letting people start having the distance. Yeah. And here's I'm creating one of the examples of this block and how it's looking like. It's looking like this. Yes, you can combine all these things randomly, or to by some logic. It's fine. So after that, you got the result. Is quite interesting looking and interesting things. So we can see some of the shops inside, and people could having to buy the things, and also they were having the crops. And during normal times, the crops block is also could become like for the greens, for the plants, for the vegetarians, and also they were having the trees. And this might not be the real trees inside. Maybe it could be other things. This is just to show the ideas. And during the emergency times, and I'm also thinking some things it could be transforming. So during that times, you can removing all this the crop blocks and make it changing to that normal the market one. So you can put the bed inside. So it could be transferred to the hospitals. You just need to put the bed, put all the facility inside, and enclose all the walls. And so it could become the temporary hospitals. And also because it having some green blocks, so it is also it will having the green space inside. So I think this will become very interesting, the temporary hospitals with quite good environment, I think. Yeah, and this is one of the master plans after I lay out these things inside of that after the renovations of that residential buildings. And this is how it's looking like. Yeah, and also that things is could be putting along the street, so we can creating something like this, so people could buy in the things along the street. And so after that, we can using all this the middle areas of the residentials to become the market. So it is creating a lot of more the fresh market in the cities. So it is solve the problems of people just going to that 7 special the fresh market. So every this part, the people just to go into downstairs and they can buy the things they necessarily needs. And also for all these areas, it's what is this circles is actually like the 5 minutes car travel distance. And I'm not sure, did you remember, this is all the hospitals locations. So now all the hospitals were having like a three faster, very fast, it could be transferred to the temporary hospitals, the areas. And this is the perspectives. And after that, yeah, it's the next step for my that semester is we need to doing a long span buildings. And I also started to thinking about the problems, and the set I'm choosing is around the Bund areas. And we can see during the festival, there's tons of the people in there. And because everybody go into there and celebrating, and I think that is quite dangerous things if the pandemics come again, and how it's going to be looking like during in that area. So also the thinking is actually, I can talk because I finished that project. It's like a separated to the 2 layers. It's creating another skywalk for the peoples. Yeah, but I also have in some of the case studies, but I'm not sure you guys the project, so I'm not going to go in deeper about this. Yeah, and this set selections for the next project. Yeah, and all this is perspective. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, so
with the video, yeah.
Yeah, this is all that sky workings for the I'm creating for that working straight, and we can see the observation deck, you know, for the rivers, for looking the views. Yeah, and all this in middle. Oh yeah, and this is that block. Yeah, for the green block as well, having a different height. So yeah, it's creating the different, like giving the hierarchies of this block, so make it become interesting. Yeah, and we can see in the far areas, they're also having something. It's just using the green block, so it's creating some interesting green areas. And this is the Bund areas before I building the next project on it. So if I didn't build that buildings, it should become like working like a playing ground for the residents. Yeah. And this is the relationship between the road for the cars and the sky workings and the under the ground floors. Yeah, and this is how it's gonna be workings. Yeah, and this is the connections between the working straight, the sky workings place, and also the car road and how it's gonna looking like. And also this horse, like I mentioned before, is letting the sunlight go into the downstairs. Yeah, and also this that could be the small shop for people. And this is how that flexible blocks gonna be looking like in the middles of the residential areas. Yeah, we can have in the different combinations to creating the different things, different lookings. And also it could be transforming to that. Yeah. And this is how it's looking like with the people's views. Jumping a little bit. And this is how the in the middle is looking like. And we can see all the shop is like divided by this craft block. So it is helping people to keep in the social distance. And also you can use in the stairs, go to the second floors. And second floors maybe is for the rest, for playing. Yeah, I think that's it. That is this project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. So you mentioned now that the number of the column is to avoid to force the social distance, no?
Yeah.
That's why the columns are so close to each other.
Mm.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I would like to have some questions, no, from your juniors, no?
Okay.
Anyone want to ask anything to MUZE? How many hours he worked? If he did everything in the last minute or something like that, or anything about the project? Marina, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to ask, like,
Let's go ahead.
Was there a point where you started, like, I mean, when you were working on the project, was there a point that you doubted yourself about, like, you know, if it's gonna work or not, or if you weren't sure about it?
Yeah, for the urban plannings, it's actually you know it that the real city is not gonna to using your design. So actually you can think in something fantasy, you can think in some things maybe it's not possible, but I think that is a great ways to to let yourself to thinking, the something different. You just don't need to be like trapped by the it's gonna working or not, it's gonna to be building or not. So yeah, it's just yeah.
How many sketches did you have to make until you were sure, like, okay, it's done, this is the design that I'm gonna go with?
Yeah, it's just decided by the deadline. Yeah. Okay. If there's no deadlines, you can have in the much more the editions, so you improved. But yeah, because you're having the deadline, so you need to control your times. Yeah, I think.
True.
Yeah, that didn't happen, and of course, this project I am also not satisfied with it. It's having a lot of the ways to change it. Yeah, but you need to push yourself so harder to getting the result. At least it's looking good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For me, the urban planning is like how you solve the problems, how you solve the questions you just giving out. For this case, I give out a lot of the questions, and all these questions is surrounding by that pandemic and also how to renovate the old cities. So at the end, all this urban planning is actually solving that problems I find out before. Yeah, for me that is this is the answer from me. Yeah.
I mean, this sample of Chris, I mean, it's very, because it's very didactical, no? I mean, you can understand the step that he did, no? And first is the skywalk. He tried to link with the, let's say, the BTS station that is in the park. No, maybe you can point it, no, in the park on the west. And he go with that main road that is very important, no, for the citizen, and going to the riverfront. On the riverfront, he create this skywalk that is going to have the view to this skyline with all the high rise of the new Shanghai, no. So that is the idea, no, that is clear, no. He tried to represent this thing in a very clear idea, and after that he started to dig into the problems, and he started to propose, no, all these singular solutions that he was talking to try to solve the needs and the problems of this situation of the COVID. And he grabbed it, and he has like a master plan, no? And it's this thing that he was mentioning. I mean, a master plan, I mean, it's not going to be implemented from one day to another day, no? So when we are going to build these things, it takes too much time, no? So that's why we need to grab the intention and explain in very clear picture, very clear images, okay, to make understand everybody what is the intention of the things that is going to be there in the future, no? Okay, so I think he did a very good job here to explain this thing from a high level until the detail level. Okay, so I hope, guys, you could understand and you can visualize and improve this assignment, no, by seeing the good samples done by the last semester, no, the last year. Okay. So, Chris, thank you so much. Okay,
thank you.
I don't know if we don't want to steal more time from your side. Okay.
Yeah, I need to go back to design.
Yeah, you need to go back. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, and see you later. Bye bye.
Okay. Yeah,